You've got this cool what is that called? You're tonal.
Is that right? I guess.
That's tonal.
I don't know, man.
Tonal with a touch of Wes Anderson.
Have you seen the tonal workout thing, the home exercise thing?
No. Tonal, like get your body in tone.
Have you seen it?
No.
I want to know what you think of that.
Okay.
Well, should we begin?
I think we've
We've
begun.
begun. We're there.
This is Jason Schwartzman.
I'm Jason. This is Adrien Brody.
And
We're here.
I'm Adrien Brody, and we're here on
A24.
On the A24 podcast.
Yep.
Which I might add is quite ingenious.
Yeah, it is.
As you are in an A24 film.
Yes. Yeah.
And I just happen to be in an
How
A24
crazy is that?
film.
I know.
And you're wonderful.
And you're wonderful. Well, come on.
You're wonderful in it.
Well,
you were unrecognizable at first, and then
yeah. Well,
I
glad you said
I loved that. I loved seeing you. You were so free, and you reveled in that freedom. And it's a funny thing, and I've seen you in lots of work, but obviously we've worked together with Wes so many times, and I love the specificity of Wes's work and what it brings out in language and mannerisms, etc. And it was so nice seeing you in this other landscape, so to speak, right? And I loved it. I really loved it, how at ease you were, and it was great. And so I got a kick out of it, primarily because most of our interactions are working together with Wes.
Yes.
And that even off camera dictates a certain kind of rhythm in all of us, because we're in this kind of universe.
Yeah.
And you were in this entirely different
that's so interesting
space, and I got to watch you from a new perspective as a great actor and doing your work completely free of any of that, and I thought it was really special, and I wanted to share that with you anyway, even if we weren't doing a podcast together. But I do think
that is so
really cool.
kind of you to say. I feel like I just saw your film last night, and it was such an interesting feeling watching this movie, because I'm sitting there going like, I felt so much love and curiosity and mystery about this person. I'd never seen anything like, your performance in it is next level. Like, to me, it's like, I feel like it's the kind of thing that you see people do, like when they have like a really incredible like game where they go like, he hit 10 RBIs. He made history that night. You know what I mean? Where someone does like where they get into a flow.
Yeah, there's a lot of flow in this.
It's like, I don't know how
you don't have. I hope I'm not being indiscreet, but you wrote me the most beautiful note like ever yesterday after the screening, and I was really moved by that.
Oh man,
I was very moved by that.
It was funny. I was on the way home. I was like in the car, and sadly there seemed to be an accident on the freeway, and so everything was at a dead standstill. So I just was sitting in this
contemplating
car that wasn't moving for a long time, just looking out the window, just like thinking of
a second intermission.
It was like truly like it was like and it was like it was kind of an amazing thing to have this moment after the movie by myself in this vehicle looking out, just thinking, and I have so many things that I would want to ask you about, and so many things I'm just so curious about in music and just everything that we want to talk about.
We could talk about the film a bit, and I'm happy to. I'd love to, and I love I'm really grateful you were there last night.
Oh my God, I'm just I'm just so I'm just blown away by it, and I really don't. I wish I had a thesaurus at times like this.
No.
But I love this. What I love about the movie too is I don't want to make you uncomfortable. It's like before the movie starts, you know this something has happened. So, just, you know, and then when the movie begins, he's beginning this new life, and he's having setbacks, but things are going well. Like things are moving along, and you know that something's gonna. I mean, I felt this at the intermission. I felt this terrible feeling.
Foreboding.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was so amazing how it was structured that way. Because I really felt like, oh boy. Like, you know what I mean? And I was like, okay, this almost at the beginning of the movie is like the whole first part of it. I'm like sandwiched between the past, which I haven't seen, and the future, which I don't know what's about to happen yet. And so I was like stuck in this thing, and I was like just sitting there. Everyone got up, you know, they all go. I'm just like sitting there like, holy shit.
I find it the same way. I can't get up.
I couldn't move. I was like, and I was just sitting there going like, what is going to happen now? I mean, and anything could happen now. And I just thought it was so beautiful. And I thought also what's fascinating, not to ruin things. I mean, is it okay if I talk about the end?
Yeah, you can talk about anything. I think
is at the end of the movie, the speech that your grandniece makes, you learn so much more about your character at the very end. And I thought that was an incredible thing too. Like, we've gone the whole movie with you and
That's
learned so much. And then then she makes this speech at the end, and it's like one last thing that you're like, wow. And then look at the look on your face when you're sitting there, and it's like, oh my God. And the other thing that I thought was so crazy was, imagine if you were really at one of these, at someone's retrospective like that. That's just one building in their life. And you think about all of that, and you think about when you walk through all these artists, a retrospective of any artist, each of these, and there must be one of those stories.
Yeah, I think it speaks to what we all yearn for as our artistic people, and is to, at the end, the end of that road, of this journey of pursuing creative endeavors, what is left behind, and that, and what we're sharing, and how those works speak to one another, and how they open conversation. And I know, like, my mother, who's such an influence for me, as you know. And
tell her I said hi.
Yeah, well, she's the
best.
I just told her I was coming to do this. She thought, she says hi too.
She's number one.
But she's just such an inspiration. But she's spent her whole life to kind of work towards her work and leaving behind something, and I really relate to that. And also the fact that to play Laszlo and to reference my grandfather and his journey as a Hungarian immigrant fleeing war in Hungary in 1956, and being a refugee, and having language being an obstacle in his new life, and starting again in America, and all of that. I just was so moving to unearth the past within context to my own life and my own journey as an artist, and my own good fortune to have been born an American, to be an American actor, and not facing, I could have been a Hungarian. I could have been born in Hungary and working on my accent so that I can hopefully come to America and get a role. That it's just so hard. It's so hard for people with that additional burden. And I really understand that and respect that, and wanted to help tell that aspect of this story. So I think it's very relatable.
You felt that. I felt that in the movie, and all these scenes. He's Peter Piper. When you're constantly working, there was something about this character I can't describe, but it's like, it was like a
funny scene.
Huh?
It's a funny scene.
Isn't that great?
It's a very
and just like, or he's saying like, what is the other stuff, like, I will, like he's saying we will, or he said it's with a W, and he repeats it like over and over, and I just love, I love it because this person is,
They always inverted it. My grandparents always, and my mother still does. They can't. It's
Yeah.
always the W and the V. They're opposite. They're
It's-
always
yeah, it's
inverted. So it's so familiar to me. I know it so
it's just,
well.
it's just beautiful. And I also, what I also, just to just keep going, but what I said, I was
You
sitting next to
were.
people I didn't know. People I didn't know at the movie. I didn't know who I was sitting next to last night. But I just, like, when it was over, I just was like, here, I'm just going to tell you everything, I think. And I sort of was like, I love this character because he's so strong, and I trust this guy so much, and yet it was like a pond with like a thin layer of ice. Like he would break, so he broke quickly, which was so amazing and so shocking to see. And I couldn't imagine. I was wondering, like, just on a technical level, I was watching it going like, this scene is crazy. Like, they haven't cut, they've done this whole thing, and now look where we are. I mean, all in one. And I'm watching it, and it's like you see this character, one thing, and then it's like when they pour the water over the marble. That's your character. I mean, that's like, and I'm just like, there, you would just break in a moment, and it was just so beautiful, and it really was like, I really hadn't experienced that in a long time, where it was like, where it really was like watching. I felt like sports. Like, I didn't know what was gonna happen. And I also just love, by the way, in the movie, there's so much of that the director kept in of people walking to where they're going, because I feel like in so many movies people just cut.
Drive.
They just cut to, they go like, let's be, and they're just. But I love, like, these
that's true.
long.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
And this process of getting everywhere. I loved seeing it. Because that's what to me, that's the story, was everyone getting somewhere, you know. And it was just like, I loved those moments, just following when there was no talking, you know, and we're just walking from one room to another, to another, to another. It was just like really, it was refreshing to see that, and just beautiful. And it's funny because, did you have a lot of ephemera and stuff, or relics or archives of your life, of your grandparents?
I have deep memories, and
Yeah.
we have some stuff. I actually have, which is fascinating, and I don't know why he did it, but I remember, you know, he had this old. Remember those old rectangular tape recorder with the cassette?
Of course.
With the
Yes.
push the red button to get into record mode.
Yep.
Really chunky.
Yeah.
Nice. That was
Love
very
it.
practical. Everyone had that.
Yes.
That's how you would record something, the built-in mic. And my mother has a recording. I don't know if she recorded it or my grandfather had recorded it, but I remember him trying to get work. And he aspired to be an actor too, but he was trying to get work, and he had a recording of this, and I've heard this recording, and he sounds very much even more extreme than Laszlo's accent, and he would introduce himself. And Plachi, my mother's maiden name is Plachi, and he would say Plachi, and say it again, and I would like to apply for the job, and and you could hear the pause on the other end of the line, and he would say, yes, okay, thank you, and you could hear the rejection, and he'd call again, someone else. And I really remember what a struggle it was to go from, he was a very charismatic man, he was very, very handsome, and he was very, he had quite a life there. And to go from that to the hardships that they endured, there's so many details that are very personal, that aren't really just for public consumption, but are extremely vivid still. And he passed away when I think I was 7, And I remember he
Amazing.
was there teaching me how to ride a bike. I remember. My dad taught me, but I remember when the training wheels were just off and we were on my block that I grew up in Queens, and he was there. And I remember him saying, anyway, it's very interesting. It's very interesting, and that stuck with me. And many stories, but we were such a close family. My mom was an only child. I'm an only child. So my grandparents were it from the old world, and it was so. I think maybe because they sounded so distinctly different, it struck me even more than anybody else. Nobody sounded like them. Nobody was Hungarian. So to be able to have that as a kind of guiding light in this, it's really special. And to represent that, because I feel like that is such a universal thing. There's so many people from whatever background. We are, your family, my family, we're all the descendants of immigrants.
Oh my gosh.
And there's been a lot of struggle, no matter how you cut it, no matter who it is. There's a lot of sacrifice, and it's another world, and it is another world again. So anyway, tell me about how is it?
And that's why it's so much more killer, by the way, when Felicity says this place is rotten.
Yeah.
That really broke my heart when she says that.
Well, the disconnect between the American dream and the hopes and dreams of people coming here, and to see the destructive forces of greed and capitalist, that extreme capitalist greed is like very hard.
I know what you mean too, because my grandparents on my dad's side were from Warsaw, and so they had like thick Polish accents.
Yeah. My dad's side is also from
really?
Poland.
Oh, wow.
I don't know specifically if they were in Warsaw, but yeah.
And so I like that accent. It's like this Polish accent, and growing up in their house, and they played Scrabble every night. That's how they kind of learned. And I remember the dictionary was such an important thing in their house. The English, they had a huge dictionary. And I remember as a little kid, I didn't know a word, and then my grandfather said, "Look it up." And like we went over, and it was like a little magnifying glass, and it was like, you have the power to look up these things in this book. This is language, and this is English, and this is this. And it was like, I remember at a very young age, like 4 or 5, like going to this giant dictionary with my Polish grandfather, and just the importance of words and how it's there for you to learn, and it's there. And
that just reminded me of in the scene where Laszlo is presenting to the town the model.
Yeah.
I added when I asked Gordon, my friend, for the flashlight, the torch.
Yeah.
I added what is the? Can you pass me the? What is the torch? Because my grandfather. I added that.
I love that
Because of my
part.
grandfather would have a hard time remembering the English word for things, and he would say, "What is that? What is the word for the?"
Yes.
What is that? And I did
love that.
to honor
That's
him,
crazy.
because it came to me because they were calling a torch. I changed it to torch. I think it was originally. I'm not sure, but I believe it was flashlight written in a torch.
Oh, it was that, even just that little line. It was like, I remember that scene, and then you take it and you send, and I was like, that felt so. It just felt so. So real to me. It was crazy. To say that I know you, but then also really to be like, man, I really don't. This is a whole other person. And by the way, this character.
I felt that about your performance.
But this
too.
guy's
I wanna
also
get to
so
you,
funny. This guy's
I
also.
appreciate it.
I love how funny your character is too. He has his ability to like laugh and make jokes and understand the moment or when to leave a room. Like when he's getting yelled at in the beginning, like he's like, "Let's go." Like I love his. He's got his skill. He's got this amazing like
there's an awareness.
Awareness.
Well,
yeah, it's very
it's
interesting.
a lot of experience.
Yes.
Right. He's lived in
Yes.
and has seen it a lot, and that I think gives you perspective to say, I'm not going to get into it.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to take it. I'll
Exactly.
see you later. And
yeah, I love. There's a part too I fucking love so much when you're walking with the son, and he kind of infers something about your niece, and you look at him, and your eyes do not, and he's looking all around, and you're like this, and you're just like staring at him, and I thought, this is amazing, because it's like, I don't give a fuck who you are.
I'll lose this whole project.
Yeah.
Right now, burn it all down.
You don't. Yeah. And I was just like,
I relate to that.
Yeah,
but
I loved it because I loved the idea that at the end of this is a decent man, but who's also
very complicated.
Yes,
flawed.
Totally. You know what I mean? And so it's just like, I was just really it was moving, and he's an artist.
Yeah. So speaking of flaws, tell me about this Joe and how this came about, and how specific all these nuances that you were doing, and what did Luca push? I love his work. By the way. I love his work. He's such a wonderful, sensitive filmmaker. I really love what he does, and
I know.
I've spoken to him.
Yeah,
before.
yeah.
I've not had the privilege of working with him, but
Oh my God,
I've
you
shared
too.
with him. I know I would love to work with him, but I think
you would love it because I
met him through Tilda, and but he's just really special.
I think the way he communicates his ideas, I think maybe also because you're also just he's Italian, and the way he speaks is sort of like in a poetic. I don't know. I really like it. I like the way that he's sort of getting to what he's trying to say. Like I remember one day he said, like, "Can you enter the scene and go look?" And I was like,
sounds like a Wes note.
But it was, but I got it. Like I was like, it had like this like a little Italian.
I get it too.
It was just
I
like,
love that.
And I was just like, got it. Like, I mean, I hope I got it. But no. So he called me, and he told me that he had read this book when he was a teenager, and it was a very important book to him, and that he had this ability to make it. And would I play this character, Joe, who's at this bar, and he said we would want to do lots of prosthetics on you. Like,
you look great.
It was fun. I mean, it was
fun.
amazing.
I
didn't
crazy. Know it was that at first.
Yeah,
and
it was
I was
crazy.
Like, I hadn't seen you in a while.
Yeah,
I was like, yo, you went in. I was like, Jason. I was like, what?
Well, at first I had this fear, like, people were gonna be like, doesn't look any different. But then
get out of here.
But it was, I had never done prosthetics before. It was like 4 or 5 hours. This guy Jason Hamer, and holy cajoles. By the way, I was on a side note. I was thinking about your mom, and I was thinking because I love Andre Kertész.
I mean, I grew up going to his. I did not know that. Going up to his apartment. He mentored her.
So check this out. So on I could look up when it was at the LACMA, but 15 years ago or something, there was like a huge retrospective of his. On my birthday, it was my birthday that day, and I was just having a weird day, didn't want to be around anybody, whatever. So I just drove to the LACMA.
Oh yeah.
Parked, went in, and there was a huge retrospect. I'd never seen his stuff. I stayed for hours. I bought every book, and he has one photograph that to me is like my favorite photograph of these people in the rain with umbrellas. It's like taken from above, and there's a big white arrow on the ground, a traffic sign, and I have a picture of it, and I have like pictures of it, and he
loved my mom.
That's amazing.
Always,
I can't.
We have a great picture of her in the sofa. That's a famous picture of his that he recreated or did with her, like they were kidding around.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
there was all of that. I mean, that
I can't.
We
even
don't
imagine.
have the time to delve into it, but
imagine.
all of that artistry, and he's just an amazing human being. But all the stuff that my mom has seen too.
Yeah.
I grew up with her photographing Basquiat and Warhol.
I know.
And Keith Haring drinking a Corona in front of a nightclub in this cool patchwork jacket, and I'm like, this is my city. This is the New York that I grew up around, and I'm like, man, it's just Times Square,
Yes.
that era. I was like, it's the stuff that made people want to make movies and talk about
Yes.
the complexities of
These
the
images
human
are-
condition and the kind of the sea of humanity there. It's just amazing. So she captured all of that.
Oh, yeah,
Not
she
to
did.
digress, but so tell me about Luca. Yeah, and how Joe.
This guy
became fully formed.
basically, no, it was just it's very simple because I had never worn a crazy prosthetics or anything, and he had said, would you like to do it? I said, of course, that sounds wonderful, and I had never really done like full where it was completely covered. My hair.
It's claustrophobic.
It was interesting. Yeah,
Did
it
you
was.
feel?
It was. It was. I didn't feel claustrophobic when I was in it.
When they were taking it off.
I felt when they were putting it on.
Yeah.
I felt a little like, you really start to notice certain things. I was just like trying. That was the hardest thing. Was like trying to budget my.
Yes, I know it.
My headspace. You know what I mean?
No,
Like,
I know it very well.
How do I budget this? And like,
I know.
and so
The reason I say taking it off because mine's gone by the end of the day, and I've poured all the emotions in. I just don't have a lot of
I know.
space for
Rip it off.
Yeah, but
I mean,
slowly mirror state and slowly peeling
I
it
know.
back, and someone just ate a tuna sandwich and
don't-
smoked a cigarette and breathing on you, and they're this close, and there's 4 people because they got you turn around and you just cried or you spent, and it's just that's the hard part about prosthetics.
exactly
I find,
what- yeah.
because then that's when I'm like it's claustrophobic because you need them to take it off. You can't just get home.
I know. That was the like just like the smells of people's fingers
Fingers in your
and
your
like
nose and
little sounds like of people like putting like a comb in their mouth for a second to pull some. I become hypersensitive to that.
double clicking the tongs.
Everything, yeah.
Very old world
Just kinda like
style.
sitting there,
I
just
know, I
like-
know it well.
Yeah, I
You
just
shot
had
in
my-
Cinecittà?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I've
exactly.
done it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
the tong. Yeah.
The
And-
tong.
But I will say
In
that
the kiln. I mean,
yeah,
I love that.
that little heating.
That's
but
so cool. I mean, it's so.
I love it. But I will say that the weirdest thing for me though was that because I was all covered, people would come up and they'd say, make sure that you're drinking water because how are you doing? Are you hydrated? And I was like, I'm fine, but I didn't realize that this is not my skin. I'm like I was
Crazy.
looking for looking to
so-
see if I was sweating.
Oh wow.
And I
That's
realized,
amazing.
yeah, and I was,
That's amazing.
and then I realized after the first day, oh, I'm under here, and I am sweating profusely, and I'm highly hot and uncomfortable. It just I wasn't in touch with it because I was just basing it on how I was on the outside, and it was just fake. So
Just got to think about your nuts. That's it.
yeah, exactly, yeah. But it was, by the way, I loved it. I loved walking around, and it's one of these things where it was such a fun character to do, and Daniel Craig is amazing, and
he's
Drew
really-
Starkey,
really-
and they're really like also like they had just started the movie, so we were doing this stuff, and then I knew when I was done they were embarking on this whole other journey, and so for me there was a real playfulness and kind of they were nervous in the beginning and fun. I loved it personally just because I love when the prosthetic. I loved how they limited what I could do physically.
Just kind of prop you up somewhere.
Exactly, and I loved it. And so I love because you would never think about these things unless
Was the
you know.
belching and all that scripted
Yeah,
thing?
yeah, that's all scripted.
He did it well.
Yeah, no, that was all scripted. But but it's one of those things where it was like scripted, but I knew
Yeah,
it.
you kind of,
yeah,
just
but it was fun. Yeah,
the nuances.
That-
There are
that's-
nuances
yeah.
to when and how, and
Yeah.
that are fun to
It was
work
fun.
with.
It
Yeah,
was
I know.
fun.
I could see you enjoying.
I
yourself.
loved it.
That's
And-
what I said. I mean,
yeah.
there's a a freedom in that.
Yeah, I mean, I was
that I
frightened.
don't get to see you do,
Yeah.
and you do so well.
Yeah.
And you should make sure you
I want to keep
do a lot more.
I will do
like,
more. Open. Spread it.
Spread your
Yes.
wings.
Well, I had fun, and maybe one thing that had to do with it was just before that movie, I had never really done back-to-back things. Really, I've never had that, and I had just done something before that was very down, and so I knew going into that I was going to play. He was like, he's full of life. He's
It
fun.
helps to shed it, no?
Yes,
It does,
and
really.
it's very, in a weird way, it was. They almost like went together. I've never had that before, but it's like, in many ways, that was informed by the one before it, because I knew I was just so down in this other one that in this one I could just go, just be wild and crazy and fun and upbeat, and it was nice to do that. So it was fun, and I love working with those people, and I love the artists. I love the artists in Trinidad. I love all that's built.
I think that is a real special experience, and must be special with Luca's guidance, of course.
I mean, even the outside was built inside, which was so crazy. Like
The set, the
yeah, like
sets were
outside,
interior.
like the streets
Yes.
were inside. It was so crazy. Like,
Were they?
Yeah, like outside the restaurants and stuff.
So where the dogs kind of wandering through,
Yeah,
and then this
also-
kind of the kind of
Yeah.
depth of field where you're seeing all that. That's an interior exterior
Yes.
shot.
And I had
There
never
is a
worked
certain
that way.
look to it that
Of course,
I
Yeah,
because we do this,
you can tell.
that
yeah.
I couldn't tell it was inside, but
Yeah.
I was
I know.
curious. I had to look it up, but I was curious
Yeah.
where you were shooting.
Wait, can I just totally pivot to one other thing, because we're talking about
Sure.
one thing to another thing?
Sure,
Did you
sure.
just finish a play?
Yeah.
What?
And it's funny because I didn't want to like get back into let's talk about me, because
but I want-
you've been very generous and spoke a lot about this
No, I just
film,
wanna
and
talk
I
about it.
appreciate that. But I just got off the stage 4 days ago and went to New York and came here.
Yeah,
And we were doing 8 shows a
Insane.
week.
it's insane.
And interestingly, because you were saying it was nice to kind of shed this other
Yeah.
role that was a bit heavy and jump into something new. And I have not done a film since The Brutalist.
Really?
I took a bit of a break, and then we also were subjected to a Writers Guild strike and a Screen Actors Guild strike that we had to stand by. And so, not many people were working, but I took a bit of space. And I had not done a play since I was a teenager, really. And it was something I've been yearning to do, but had been quite intimidated isn't the right word, but it's such a. Even though I started in the theater and doing off Broadway and many years in acting school, it's been so long, and I've developed a lifetime of technique and familiarity with film acting. I don't really like the idea of projecting, and I like the intimacy that we're afforded to speak in film and listen and not have to make sure someone under an awning or up in the balcony is going to hear or see something. And it ended up being a really wonderful experience. I think I learned a lot and loved the community of actors I was working with. That was really the best part, was sharing that time together with actors who are all so good, and everyone lifting each other up and all there for the right reasons. There's like, you can't make a living doing theater, but you can sure get a great deal of fulfillment, and they're all really, everyone's lifting each other up, and I just loved that. And also this kind of communion with the audience and how it varied every night. But all of that was a tangent. The thing that occurred to me in addition to doing 8 shows a week, the Brutalist has received quite a bit of appreciation after Venice, and I'm incredibly grateful for it. So my responsibilities in kind of helping to make people aware of the film started ramping up during the play, and I found myself talking a lot about Laszlo and this journey and thinking about Pennsylvania of that time. And it occurred to me, the character that I play in this play is, it's based on a true story. His name was Nick Yaris, and he served 22 years on death row in Pennsylvania for a crime he didn't commit. And so much about it was this man enduring great injustice and violated by people and circumstances within Pennsylvania. And that is Laszlo's, where he lands, and much of his experiences exists within Pennsylvania and all those hardships. And I was like, what is it that's drawn me to these two things at the same time in my life? They both came at the same moment.
Isn't that interesting?
And maybe that there's just too much injustice in the world, and I don't know, Pennsylvania's a big state. I have no idea. There's too much injustice, for sure. And maybe that speaks to me, and just interesting timing.
But you're able to express it without it, like how aware are you of injustice or a statement like that, or wanting to
it's not I know what you're,
you know what I mean? Like, I don't know the
it's
correct
not,
wording.
Well, the enemy of it being an emotional journey would be to be overly first of all, it's embedded in the work. It's in the writing, it's in the subtext, it's just what speaks to me and what I find compelling and worthy of all the work that it takes to delve in and it takes someone like Brady. It takes a filmmaker who has this, first of all, a sensitivity and understanding of these circumstances and a sense of empathy of what so many people struggle with in this world, and an understanding of history, and an ability to weave the traumas that many have endured and are forced to contend with from the past, and where it still lies within society right before our very nose. And to do that without saying, I'm teaching you anything, but just, you're going to feel something and you might recognize something. And I think that's the beauty of film. Because you are transported to another era, and the beauty of being an actor, to inhabit and represent someone from another time, and how that individual's experiences speak to elements that you relate to personally and that definitely other people may relate to, and that it's all in there, baked in, and then you're in this darkened room together, and it unfolds, and it's very special when it works. It's
and
very,
you can
very
feel
special.
it.
It's very special. But the play afforded me that as well, and I feel like, I'm very aware of my own good fortune. I'm very aware of, our life has many challenges, but I grew up in Queens. I grew up around a lot of people that had made some pretty big mistakes, and this story in the play was so much about a young man who had made a couple mistakes and then got implicated into things that he didn't even do, and was too naive and addicted to methamphetamine as a teenager, and just a mess, but wasn't guilty of the charges that he was incriminated for. And and was helpless, and that this giant system just oppressed, and how, you know. We could do another podcast because A24 has a whole other movie about injustice within the. We could bring in a third person into this. But
was it hard physically to do it? Like to have a whole day free and then do your job at night for this?
Well, we had 8 shows, so we had Thursdays and Saturdays a matinee.
Oh wow!
In addition,
oh wow!
It never really felt like I had a whole day free because I also haven't been able to sleep well because I think retaining an entire play.
Yeah.
With the whole kind of third act being essentially a lot on my shoulders, that I would wake up numerous times in the night with dialogue, various scenes every night, making sure I know it, or I don't know what it was, but it was, I've never experienced that ever that I can recall. Maybe there'll be a big scene and I'll wake up and I'm stressed and I'll run the scene before I'm fully up, or I'm making sure I know the monologue and I know the bridges within that, but not, you know, an hour and 45 minutes worth of material. I had a play with no intermission and a film with a.
How funny is that?
With one.
How weird is that?
It is also very strange.
And then do you think that? And then how did that come about? Someone said, "Would you like to be in?"
Yeah, Lindsay Ferrantino wrote it, and she's an amazing writer. You just would love it. You love. I should just
Will you
get
do
the
it here?
We'll see. I think it's gotten very well received.
Would you do it?
She'd probably like us to do it. I'll consider it. I'm not sure yet. It's a lot.
It's a lot. Yeah.
It's a lot, but it was very gratifying. It's just I gotta get a movie going. I gotta find a film, and then let's see if I find the right film and right project and filmmaker, and I feel like I have something meaningful that satisfies that. Then I can say, okay, I'll take another break and space to perform and do a play. But I can see why actors are yearning for the stage, and it's such a different set of challenges. You know, you make a movie and you have these handful of scenes that you know are. There'll be many that you really relate to, and then there'll be a handful of scenes that are kind of complicated that you know are going to be some work to suss out, and you know maybe the filmmaker has an idea for them, and you're not sure you understand that well enough, or you're not going to be able to convey it. And then when you get to that, you tackle that, and you hopefully prevail, but you get through it, and it's the past. Tomorrow you buckle up and get to work and work on the day's tasks. A play, you have to unearth that and discover it every day, all through rehearsal and then in front of an audience every day. And then even though that may be a difficulty, you've got to be so rooted, and you got to jump right into the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and you have no time to think about how or what. You have to kind of process it because you do have to learn from it, but it's such a different way of thinking and applying.
You mean letting that night's performance go to the next night, or scene by scene?
Letting, scene by scene, and processing how to be better again, right?
Yeah.
But getting through those challenging moments, and then being fully present in the other moment that immediately precedes or follows is a new thing for me. It is. I had not had to think on those terms because I'm so used to compartmentalizing.
Yeah, right.
Say, we're going to do this heavy scene today, and we're doing that, and then we might have a lighter moment right after that, but I'm going to put it down. I'm going to go outside. I'm going to shake it off a bit. I'm going to do that. You don't have any time to shake anything off. You have, anyhow, it's
What
very
about
exciting.
this? Was it did you ever watch a video of it in rehearsal, or did you ever see it filmed?
No, I did watch the understudy run, which was
Really?
informative.
Was that-
He was quite good. He was quite good, and I learned a few things. I joked with him. I was like, okay.
Like what? Yeah.
But I got to watch. I got to watch the play unfold. I got to watch what everyone
Yeah.
was doing. I got to watch what my character wasn't experiencing and seeing.
Interesting.
I got to watch blocking,
Right.
and I got to see where things needed to be more specific, and for myself, and it was good. It was helpful.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, I liked it.
Wow.
It was very interesting.
That's really interesting. What about,
Let's talk about music,
yeah,
right?
perfect.
I want to talk about music with you
Great.
because we both love making
Yes.
music.
Yeah,
I
we do.
mean, Jason, when he's on set, or it's fun. The last one we did with Wes, we shared, and we all live. Wes's films, usually everyone gets on. We all live in one hotel or sometimes a house, which was amazing on Darjeeling. I mean,
Yeah.
first of all, Darjeeling was just like such an amazing life experience. We
Same.
kind of have to talk about that a little bit, just
Same,
because
yeah.
that was my first meeting and introduction
Yeah.
to you and to Owen and to Wes and to Roman
Yeah.
and Jen and all of you, and the love and camaraderie and intimacy of what that was,
Yeah.
the familial quality of what it was. And I think more than any other, maybe Rushmore was different. You know, it was different, but it was an earlier time in Wes's work. But more than the other films that I've been fortunate to participate in, I felt like there was just such a close emotional journey within the humor and his wonderful, unique stylistic choices.
Yeah.
And
No, you're right.
I love the emotional truths that are hand in hand with broad fucking comedy.
Yeah.
Amazingly fun stuff.
Yeah.
And these epic,
Yeah.
brilliant
Yeah,
moves that
yeah.
Bob Yeoman was shooting
I know.
and Wes is designing. And man, that film.
But you know, it's funny because I think that also was the first time that he had really worked that way too. Like I think he was trying that after Life Aquatic.
Right.
So I think that
And it's stuck.
It's
He's
stuck.
like-
But
and
I think
then-
that was the foray into it. And so I think in many ways, like the family thing you're talking about is like, that was the first time it wasn't really. I mean, I had never experienced that either.
I'd never.
Do you know
I
what I mean?
had
Like-
only once. Or
Yeah.
the family, kind of everyone together. You mean that?
Like
kind of
that, yeah. Like, and
I had
you
once,
and I
but
going
it
on
was
that. We went.
specific to the
Yeah.
storytelling, but yeah, but not. I mean,
I just had never done that, and just like, so for me it was just a dream. Like we went on a hike around the lake.
yeah,
One of
that
the
was our
first
first.
days. Yeah, the
that
first
was the
day.
first day we
and
met.
it's
I
just
loved
like
it.
so.
Balsam on Lake.
I just remember like so much about that, and it's it's hard to forget because that's really like that's kind of like, and just what I learned, and your generosity, and
Yours,
just
yeah.
the whole thing was just like I was just so grateful. You talk about grateful, just like every second I was
too.
just like, holy shit.
Oh, me too. That
And
was
I
it was a
loved
life
it,
experience.
and I laughed so much too, and there was just, and it's I don't even know if I was laughing because things were funny. I was laughing because things were just life.
Yeah.
And
No,
just
it was so
appreciating
We
it.
were all out of our element.
Yeah.
And loving it, and
It will never. I mean, that's just so crazy.
it was great.
Um,
Shooting on a moving train each day, and
I know.
we'd have to wake up. We'd have, our suits or
Yeah.
our outfits would be prepared in the room with a microphone
In it.
In it, no makeup.
No.
No makeup period before going on a set. Just
Yeah.
get your stuff, get dressed, and get to the train
Station.
before the train departed, or else you missed the set.
Yes.
and nobody missed the set, right?
No.
And what would we have done? Like, what if
You
Owen?
couldn't. You
I don't
couldn't
know
have
why
missed
I say
it.
Owen. What if I overslept? Owen, I could just see Owen.
But you couldn't-
I thought I
you
was.
could-
yeah,
I thought-
I dreamt
I
that
thought
the
it was
alarm went off.
9:30.
And I don't know. It was 9:30.
But no, we had to literally leave the train station because it was a train station. We were a train on a live track. I mean, we weren't on some private track going up and down 40 feet. I mean, we were going through India. And I thought it was so smart how they had one long train and they had built one side of it. The sets were on one side and they built a replica of it on the other side. So on the way back, when the sun would be on the other side, you just switch. And it was just, yeah, I mean, to me,
is the same, yeah.
That's kind of like, and what I learned from that I loved so much was the responsibility that each actor has for each other. You know what I mean? Like, because I remember, like, there was a moment
I remember
when
too.
you were like, I think your glasses were, I think your thing was here. Like, looking out for each other. I just felt like, this is amazing. You know what I mean? This kind of, like, real, like, we are all doing this together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, I'm an only child.
Yeah.
That felt like it was with my brothers.
It was like that. No, I feel that way. Yeah.
It was a really
it was our
touching
brothers.
journey and
Yeah.
very, very, really fun. Poor you that Wes made you walk around all over India barefoot. I mean, he's very brave. Like, you really are. I mean, we're all brave. I mean, you threw me down that river too.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
Didn't end well.
Yeah, it did
but
not.
It's probably better to walk around barefoot.
Didn't.
It did not end
No.
well. No.
It was bad.
It was bad.
Wait, but music, well, because music
Let's
actually
talk about music, yeah.
was really interesting because I remember during that time, well, for me, like, what was really interesting about that moment was, like, you know, I think, like, I was so focused growing up on, like, I was so into, like, British invasion, like, Beatles, and I kind of missed, like, a whole giant chunk of things, and I think that during that time, I had just gotten this computer, and like I was learning how to. It was the beginning of me kind of understanding production and like working. And I remember you came in and you played me a bunch of these like beats you had done, and it was like, really, it was like, okay, well, this is what you can do. Like,
well, I feel the same way about this is what you can do if you can actually play instruments.
No, but it was just like I remember sitting there going like, okay, this is like, and so I still think about it because I remember we sat there and we were listening and I was like, wow, like all these little levels and all these things, and I couldn't believe that it was just you had just done it. Like, and I still think back to that feeling of like I wanna. And I'm not good yet still with the product, but that sort of
was
like...
I making beats in India? Did you?
Yeah, you came in and you played me.
Yeah, stuff I would make that I...
You played me like 40 minutes of beats, and they were all great. And I remember just going like, fuck, like this is... Like, but they weren't beats, they were song. I mean, they were like pieces
they're beats, yeah.
Yeah, but they're
rudimentary. I mean, they're, yeah.
No, but they were...
They're, yeah.
But to me, it's like when I imagine, like that's what I'm, like,
they're
so to this day, like, you know how you have these weird, like, memories, like, that's the one that I, like, when I imagine, like, getting good at being able to, I'm not good at that yet to this day, but I think of that as,
you don't
like,
have to, and that doesn't even have to be a style.
I know, but
but you always...
I want to be. I like it, but it was just, you know, but then, I think of you a lot, too, because we were talking about like little DJ apps and things on the phone, and I got to show you this. I got a little DJ thing for my son and I, and a
little portable rig. I have one.
It's
of
like
those.
this big little thing. It's pretty great.
They're great.
I mean, it's not that portable. I mean, it's like pretty portable.
Yeah,
but
there's an even smaller one that's crazy.
Really?
There's a little thing.
Really?
This big, yeah, that you plug into your
That's
iPhone or iPad.
Okay, that's what I want.
And I rocked a party with that.
Really?
I rocked a whole show with great delays and effects and everything. Yeah, I'll turn you on to that.
I watched the Questlove Masterclass.
Did you? I saw some of it, yeah.
I liked it a lot. There was some pretty, like, it was pretty interesting just watching.
Like you told me to see that. I feel like it was you.
Oh, maybe, yeah. I liked his setup. I liked his board. I liked his effect. I mean, but it was really like, the one thing I'm trying to figure out, though, is like, so do you have all your music? That's what I haven't figured out is, where is the so many of these songs.
I'm a mess. What? Yeah.
Well, so many of them are like not there or available, and I can't.
They're all over the place.
Yes.
Well, I've fallen deeply into working with one piece of equipment, and then I will have a friend, or I'll go to Guitar Center or something, and I'll see some new piece of gear, and I'll be like, oh, yeah, let me try that, and I'll start messing around with that, and then I'll forget how to make music on that old equipment that I have volumes of music on.
And it's still on
I've got stuff. Yeah, I don't remember how. I could probably figure out how to make a track on an ASR, but I was making beats on ASRs and EPS 16 pluses, which are these old school Sonic keyboards.
The ASR 10
back in the 90s.
ASR 10.
ASR 10.
Yeah.
ASR 10. I still have one. I still have a full, perfect.
Well, that's
88 key ASR 10. Yeah. I traveled to Jamaica with it.
No
I used to now you can like go with your iPad and make
amazing
music, but I would travel with my ASR to Jamaica to visit my boys and go there, and I remember making what at the time I felt like my masterpiece. Like I was cooking. And the problem with that, my model of it, when you had too many great layered samples, because it's a sampler sequencer, when there was too much in it, it would crash.
Oh shit.
And you had to save everything on a floppy disk. And I hadn't backed it up. And it didn't crash. It would crash, but there was a thunderstorm and the power fucking surged and it went out after like an 8-hour beat session that just was. It's gone. It was probably my best work ever. Honestly, it's gone.
Fuck me.
I may have cried.
Really?
I know I yelled, but I may have cried. It was that good. Anyway, so I used to travel with this.
How were you bringing your sample?
In a giant like roadie case. Like I was like go through luggage and pick it up.
Yeah.
Weighed a ton.
But isn't that cool? Isn't that interesting though? Because I believe that. And like we're talking about acting with like makeup or a character, I believe that instruments do have, they make you, I believe they have songs in them in a way. I mean, that you adapt to them. I find that I do. Like
definitely, I don't know about a digital equipment, but I definitely would say
a guitar.
A guitar or even a piano or any kind of one instrument that would have a personality. It's made. It's that wood. Someone assembled it.
But the ASR 10 is an example, I think, of a digital instrument that does
analog.
But digital. It has a personality. It has a personality, and it has like. And it has like a clock, and it has a way that it.
I think Kanye does a lot of stuff still on ASR. Yep, I know RZA did.
Yeah, right. No, that was the and like even like the APC, like the MPC 2000, like they have their own thing, and like you would even if
different
and you make certain kind of thing on it, like when you're saying
MPC,
and it's true that like that's the one thing I'm not good at either. Is like I don't know how to merge all my stuff, so I have like music on just like different devices.
Me too.
And
you need to then
back
be
it up.
serious. Well, you got to back it up, but then you need to be serious, and you need to have like time and money to be in a studio with someone to help you, like an engineer, to say, I want to upload all this on Pro Tools. That's great. I want to riff with that for a while. Just record it, and then we can sample that riff or play with. And that's where I'm at these days with it, which I find really fulfilling. But it's time and money.
Are you doing that?
Yeah, I am. But I'm not doing anything yet with things. But I scored clean.
I
made the whole. I made that whole score, and I ended up doing it because I was making beats while I made the movie, and I was like, wow, this is a theme. I made a theme in the state of mind of this character and the zone I was in. And it was like this kind of Rambo-esque kind of feeling. I was like, that's a theme. And then ultimately stuff I started making even on an iPad, I ended up having an orchestra interpret, and had a woman playing
How cool is that?
French horns and cellos and things. It was just amazing.
But it was coming musically from the character.
It was.
Isn't that
Coming
interesting?
from it, yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
I think it's all so.
But you play a lot of acoustic work, which is so beautiful, and you sing.
I'm not a really good singer, but I can. But I play piano and guitar enough to write and like to play along with people.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's amazing. I can't.
Yeah,
do it.
I can't like, I wouldn't be like, pass me the guitar for a second. Like I would, like, it's nice and
It's soothing. I
It's
love a
soothing.
guitar. It's very nurturing. I used to carry a Martin backpacker and I
Yes.
can't play other than a few little chords. I can't play, but I love.
Yep.
It's a whoopee. I love having like a nice blanket. Like
Yeah.
It's just there.
Well, I think it's because in my silly opinion, I think it's because when you're holding a guitar, the sound goes backwards through your body.
Mm-hmm.
And I
love
think
that.
that's like a nice.
The reverberation.
Yeah, I think there's a real like.
Comes in and
Yeah, I think it's like
the vibrations.
the vibration.
Yeah.
I even when you're tuning something, like when they're out of tune, go whoa 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 whoa, and then as they get more in tune, they go whoa 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 whoa, whoa. And I love that, and it's sort of how I feel when we're all working. Is like it's like tuning,
That's right.
It's like whoa whoa whoa, and it's all not that it's bad if it's out of tune, but you can feel it like
When it's
you
aligned.
can feel it go whoa, boom, 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 and I sort of live for that moment,
That's great.
That's sort of like my whole. That's what I live for. Is like the tuning of people.
I like that. That's
Yeah, I was just at Guitar Center yesterday.
really.
Just got
It's
a new
fun. I'm
keyboard.
jealous. Yeah. You got a new keyboard?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty sick.
There's a bunch of gear out now. That's
I
cool.
know. There's so much stuff I want. There's a great place in LA where they have a lot of synths if you want good synths. Anyway, but I love all the gear too much.
How's the family?
They're great.
Babies?
They're great.
Adult children?
My
how's
daughter
everybody
just turned
now?
14.
14, yeah.
It's really funny. I have a 10-year-old, and I said, I'm leaving. This is last night. I said, I'm going out to see this movie. She said, I go too? I said, no,
No, not you.
You don't go see this one.
Yeah.
And she said, please. And I'm like, listen, you could barely make it through Wild Robot. You're not going to get through the Brutalist. I've tried,
Yeah.
But then while I was watching, I was going, they would love this movie, because it's, they would love it. It's so fucking beautiful and intense. And the music, by the way, is incredible.
Oh, and that is incredible.
And that is a real achievement, that score, by the way. And seeing it last night on the big screen, it was great.
No, the music is just epic.
Yeah. It was fun, by the way, just to say it last night, to sit in a theater that was clearly so, with that kind of movie, with strangers was fun. Like, because you realize how, like, I'm just talking and sharing my, and the people next to me are just talking about how they feel.
Oh, how great.
We don't even know each other.
How great.
But that's a great movie, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like you're compelled to just like, what do you think? What's going on? Like, you start talking and it's like, that's what a movie, I mean, that's a great feeling, right?
It is,
It's just
yeah.
like the community, the people in the room.
Absolutely.
All wanting to just start to talk.
That's wonderful.
And that was
makes
like,
me
I
really
was like,
happy,
what a
yeah.
triumph. I was like, this is what it's all about, And to me, it's just like, I don't know, they're just, everything you do is so great. I'm just so happy that this movie is like,
but this
you
one,
see
this
it-
one has some
it has something,
really special.
yeah, and it's, I don't know how you did it.
Should we do some closing?
Next question.
Tell me.
Question number 2.
I've enjoyed
I've loved it.
chatting with you, pal.
What do we got here? Shotgun, Mike.
Cheers.
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 Rock and roll.